Hi, I'm Diane Whitner, and I'm an artist and writer, and I co-produce and host the Backbone Campaign's Shadow Government Conversation series called Conversations with the Cabinet. Several colleagues are here with me today. Thank you to Busboys and Poets for letting us use this space, and thanks to you all for joining us on this Sunday afternoon, and especially thank you to Mike Hirsch and Christine Yorty for organizing today's event. This event is sponsored by AfterDowningStreet.org, the Backbone Campaign, Code Pink, Dawn, Progressive Democrats of America, Democrats.com, and World Can't Wait. And we have with us today 3 leading activists for our forum. Well, up until Friday night, this forum was supposed to be called Human Rights and Impeachment Day. But then Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney introduced articles of impeachment against George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Condoleezza Rice. So we are now taking this day to honor and thank Congresswoman McKinney for her outstanding bravery. That is, she's speaking for the 51% of Americans who, according to Newsweek, say that they want Bush impeached. So impeachment is now on the table, so it seems. So thank you to Congresswoman McKinney. I have a piece of paper here that we will be happy to distribute later that tells you how you can thank Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney for introducing articles of impeachment. So please pick one of those up.
I want to start with a quote that we in World Can't Wait have used a lot from the Nobel Prize-winning playwright Harold Pinter, who looks at this country from outside and says, "The Bush administration is the most dangerous force that has ever existed. It is more dangerous than Nazi Germany because of the range and depth of its activities and intentions worldwide. These things that I'm talking about, preemptive war and torture, are war crimes. We have to be very clear about this. This is in contravention to international law."
Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson, who represented the United States at Nuremberg, stated a principle that was incorporated into the United Nations Charter. Let me make clear that while this law is first applied against German aggressors, the law includes, and if it is to serve a useful purpose, it must condemn aggression by any other nations, including those which sit here now in judgment. Now, I know, because I know many of you, that everybody here already agrees with that, so my point on the panel here is actually not to talk too much about whether they've earned impeachment. I assume they've worked hard, they put in long hours, revised many laws and principles in order to reach this coveted status. It's a process in which individual aides who helped in committing crimes have to go sit in front of a congressman and decide whether they want to commit perjury in order to protect people that are at 20% in the polls, in the case of Cheney, or 30% in the case of Bush. Well, they will do that if they're talking to a reporter in a press conference. But under oath, putting their hand on the Bible, which in many cases they actually believe in, by the way, which is a further complication for their side, they are going to be under perjury problems. I suspect that many of them are not willing to put on a particular version of this suit in order to protect Dick Cheney at the moment.
Right, correct.
Public pressure, let's not get hung up on the terminology, but let us make sure it's real investigations with real subpoenas, and let's play it for all it's worth. This may be the way to end the war before 2009. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Rostam Porzol, president of the Campaign Against Sanctions and Military Intervention in Iran, and he will speak on the need to impeach from the Middle East point of view.
On this International Human Rights Day, which to me is truly a sacred day, in an ideal world, this would be celebrated in every community in the world. Other countries set their clocks, adjust their conduct according to how much this bloc, and especially the United States, models lawlessness based on self-righteousness, that might is right. We do what we do because we can. That's pretty much the message.
It's not as rare as you might think. It's not something that nobody has ever done being violated. And so the frame within the article, and I don't know if you've seen it, but the article and addenda that Mike will discuss and her floor speech are all up on her site, CynthiaForCongress.com. The frame that we gave it were the failure to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, which comes from the presidential oath. The point was we wanted, rather than to just give a list of things, to show how they fit into the constitutional framework. And we didn't want to leave Bush that much wiggle room in terms of saying, oh, well, these aren't sufficient or this or that, but rather to take it up to the next level. So I think it's important when you're talking about why is he impeachable to make reference to the principles themselves, the oaths that he's violating and the constitutional duties that he's violating, and then you can give examples. But I think it's a better way to frame it for public argument and also to sort of put the heat on the administration. We drew from the work of scholars and legal people. We went through about, I think there's 13 books that touch on the matter. We tried to look at what were really the best items that would qualify. So these were the most documented, the most known, and the most accepted that we put in, but Mike's going to talk about some of the ones that we thought were also possibly sufficient to be brought in a broader bill. I think the other thing to understand is just this. These are charges. This is like the DA comes forward to the microphone and says, we're charging so-and-so with murder, rape, and robbery. Okay? The press doesn't say, hey, can you prove all those right now? No, that's proved in court.
It's really important for this movement to impeach to understand one thing, that although there is a process that's similar to a normal legal case, it's very, very different in another aspect, and that is that the definition of high crimes and misdemeanors applies specifically to people who hold high office, not to ordinary criminals. A high crime in this context is a crime against the state, a crime against the people. It is the kind of crime that only somebody who holds the highest office, that kind of power, can commit. And again, going back to the framework of violating the oath and violating the Constitution, that's why we made it that framework, because these crimes are again, crimes that only somebody holding that office and only somebody who's taken that oath can commit. It's that abuse of office. So I just want to finish on the point that I think that there is momentum, and I think there is, there's never been an administration that was more deserving of impeachment, because this administration is just flagrantly doing everything that you would do if you wanted to get impeached. The real problem is who's going to prosecute that impeachment process. And in a bigger context, is our political system going to continue marching to the right, in which case we're going to end up in some sort of national security or police state? Or, is this a turning point?
Right on.